Today we have resident Jason Jeter, who is the co-founder of Grand Hustle Records and most recently Heavy Sound Labs, which is a music incubator for emerging artists. We talk about removing the gatekeeper model in music, finding creativity in nature, and how a serendipitous golf cart ride made his move to Serenbe a no-brainer.
So as we're driving, we're talking to Miss Pat, this great conversation, and next thing you know, Miss Pat detours and she has us in her house, you know, and we're in her home and she's showing us and, you know, this conversation totally was like the nail in the coffin, like, okay, you know, like we got to figure this out.
All right, so I want to welcome everybody to Serenbe Stories. Today we have Jason Jeter. Jason Jeter is a resident who has lived down here for just a little bit of time. So welcome, Jason. How are you? I'm
good. Thanks for having me, and I'm happy to be here.
Delighted you can join us for this afternoon's conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get to talk to you, Steve. You know?
Yeah. One of the things with this season, we're interviewing all residents, is we want to find out sort of upfront, how did you find out about Serenbe and what led you to making the move here? Because we know that this is a part-time home for you. Give us your Serenbe story.
So my mother originally introduced me to Serenbe. Yeah, and this is probably 15 years ago. You know, This was really early. So I've actually, from afar, right, not knowing you guys, but I've seen the progress happen over this, you know, span of, say, 15 years, you know, now. And my mother, her name is Lucy Laveau. She's into gardening and you know, sustainable real estate and, you know, things of that nature. So when she learned about the community, she said, hey, I want you to come out here with me to check out this community, you know. So I kind of pretty much just drove my mom down here, you know, just tagged along to show her what she was reading about, you know. And I actually kept coming back after that because I really like, you know, trails, you know, just walking in the woods. That's something that, you know, I'm from the entertainment space, so it's very, you know, loud, you know, high energy, you know, and I like just kind of getting lost for a second, you know, in that way. So to me, the setup was just great, being that, you know, I can come down, take a hike, a walk, and then grab something to eat and then leave, you know, and I did that for years, you know, but over these years, I'm watching, you know, this dream, which I thought was very ambitious. You know, when I learned the story, I was like, wow, this is pretty ambitious. You know, I had known about other communities that, you know, that had attempted, you know, things, and we know that, you know, it's hard to build, you know, so, you know, salute to you, Steve, coming into this.
Well, it's people like you who could see what we were doing and appreciate the connection to nature and other people. So it's, if you and others hadn't shown up, this dream wouldn't be happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we really say that it is the people. I mean, Steve has created a platform, and a beautiful, beautiful platform at that, and like an inspired one. But the people who are showing up are what makes the community. And that's sort of been really what I think keeps everybody connected, and the glue kind of part of it. Yeah. So you walk the trails, you hung out with your mom, you came for years, but then what made you think, you know what, maybe I need a little piece of that nature in my life on a permanent basis?
Honestly, I always kind of felt like I wanted to get a place, but I was young, you know, so I just always felt like that was a reality too, right? Like, hey, at some point at the right time, I'm gonna probably get a place here, you know. Yeah. If I was smart, I would have got a lot.
10 years ago.
You know, but and really truly, I'll tell you this story, you know. Me and my fiance, Stephanie, she's from San Diego, the West Coast, lived in LA. So she moved to Atlanta, you know, and she wasn't familiar with Serenbe. So I brought her down and introduced her to it. I wanted her to see what I saw, and I thought that she would like it as well, you know. So we came down and we went on a tour. You guys had like a home tour, you know. We came down, we went on this tour, and the best thing about this tour was at the end of the tour, you know, literally like the tour was over and Miss Pat drives us on a golf cart back to our car, you know. So as we're driving, we're talking to Miss Pat, this great conversation, And next thing you know, Miss Pat detours and she has us in her house, and we're in her home and she's showing us and this conversation totally was like the nail in the coffin. Like, okay, like we got to figure this out, and from there, of course she introduced us to Raina, and we went on a tour and it was like a no brainer, Stephanie, she felt the same way that I felt, the same energy that I felt, and it was a no brainer. So we purchased, I guess, the end of 19, in November of 2019.
Okay.
And we actually had a place in New York as well. So we were, back and forth and really hadn't had an opportunity to stay until the pandemic hit,
Yep. That sounds like the best of both worlds. A little bit of New York, a little bit of Atlanta, and a little bit of Serenbe.
Yeah. Until the pandemic hit and New York had to go.
Then you're like, I'm out of New York. I was going to say, did Miss Pat give you did she have any pound cake? Because that is really the deal sealer.
Miss Pat promised me that she was going to make us a pound cake if we purchased the place.
And has she done it?
All I'm saying is I haven't got my pound cake yet.
Okay, well, you're putting
we haven't had the pound cake yet. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, we're putting Miss Pat on notice here.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, Raina sold me our house as well. So we bought back in, 2009, I think, Steve. Ooh. Exactly. So that's interesting. So the pandemic hit last March-ish. And did you guys come down immediately, or was it more like get out of Dodge, or were you like, oh, this is a great escape for times?
Yeah, the pandemic hit. And by that time we had pretty much, we took some time, of course, getting some furniture and all of that stuff, So by that time, luckily for us, like we had already at least had furniture, right?
Just need a bed.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, ideal. Now let's go down here now, and we went down and, of course we started staying, and throughout the entire pandemic, this is the first time I have not traveled, in this amount of time, right? Like outside of the state or whatever, but throughout the pandemic, we've pretty much just been going back and forth between, our main place, by Chastain Park, and Serenbe, and it's been great, and like I said, you see the pros and cons, you see the difference in your lifestyle, you definitely notice things.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, over the time here, what do you think's been the most interesting thing to see of any changes of kind of what you maybe expected Serenbe to be and like what it kind of has been to you this year?
It's a good question. I think I'll say this, right? I feel like it's a good balance and balance within the community from the aspect of, you have community, so you do know people, but my experience so far, which I was questionable of, was how nosy would some people become in a sense, and just, being transparent because like, I don't live in a subdivision, in my main place. I've lived in subdivisions before in the past, and I didn't like living in a subdivision, just because it just felt like, this is too much, just give me my own space, So therefore, of course, you look at Serenbe and it's a great footprint, a large community, but then, that was my question was like, it's like, and in a way, like, will it be too much, And I can say that I think that pleasantly, I feel like, I haven't felt that way yet. I think people are great, and it is America, right? Whereas some people are nicer and some people just say, keep it going. But, I think it's a good balance, whereas it's not too much for me,
Yeah. I think we like to, a lot of times in the press, people will say that it's this new utopia or this paradise or all these things. And I think the nature aspect of it is partly what people are reacting to. And obviously the architecture is beautiful, but we really try to say like, there is no such thing as a utopia. And this is just a regular neighborhood in the sense that regular people have all the same kind of stuff that you're going to find anywhere. Yeah. It's more the opportunity to connect with the people is unique, right? Sure. That's the difference, is that you actually can have that relationship if you want to, but it's a little bit of, Steve always says, right? You can walk out your front door and be with everybody, or go out your back door and be by yourself.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So you can kind of find that place.
No option. So it depends on what mood you're in that day.
Yep.
Or sometimes for a couple, there's one person in the couple goes out the front door all the time and the other out the back door all the time, and you have that option here, where generally you have to choose one and drive to the other.
Yeah.
Which is the beauty of it. And I think that's the nice thing too, is that you can have these relationships that maybe aren't, like Miss Pat, for instance, right? She's a retiree, and, you and I, like your child is younger than mine, but like, we might be sort of forced into these like relationships only with parents or only with, families. Yep. And so you have this opportunity, which I've found really great, is to have, friends who are single and friends who are boomers or retirees or younger and with kids without. So that's been, I think, is one of the benefits.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, right? Because I'm from New York City, so I grew up in Brooklyn and the Bronx and then Montclair, New Jersey, but I grew up in cities in the aspect of there was community, and buildings and neighbors and the corner store and things of that. So, ever since I've moved to Atlanta, you really lose that because everything is door to door driving now.
Yep.
So sure, I have neighbors. I really only know like one of my neighbors.
Right. No, I know. Yeah.
So,
now, how many of your neighbors at Serenbe do you know?
Yeah, I mean, my neighbor's at Serenbe, and I've been here 15 years. I know one neighbor. I've been there for 1 year, and I know quite a few neighbors, quite a few neighbors, So, I mean, I think that is a great benefit. And I believe that in today's world, once you visit, I think, like you said, people utopia and all of this stuff, because it is a little dreamy. Like,
that's really good. I like dreamy. That's nice. Yeah, I like that.
It's a little dreamy.
What I think about, and you really look, there's not a lot about Serenbe that's different from communities maybe 100 years ago. Community, nature, you had a relative that was probably on the farm. If you weren't growing up there yourself, even though hard work, but it was just a different place. And now those same characteristics are defined as utopias or dreamy or unrealistic. And I think that's sad that we've moved that far away from some of those just basic things.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I agree with you 1,000,000%. I think it's sad that kids can't go outside and play on their own a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's really sad. I have a 12-year-old son, I have a little daughter, just that reality that, wow, like I could go outside when I was younger and play all day and, spend all day outside with my friends and have fun. And we know that it's certain things that you really, truly need to learn, how to govern yourselves a little bit one-on-one. I think there are a lot of social skills that kids are missing out on because of the lack of, just that.
Well, and that's what Richard Lou's book is all about, Last Child in the Woods, because there is some of the actual brain development. And I think the sad thing too is, it's not uncommon for me to be outside and somebody will pull up that's visiting and say, there's 4 or 5 8-year-olds down there. I don't see any adult. You better check. Yeah, those are our free range kids. That's strange.
Yeah. And I think those unexpected, when people are walking around and they're new to Serenbe, these unexpected sights, throw them off, and they may harken back to how they grew up, or they think, it can't be real. Hence back to the whole utopia. But I'm going to use dreamy. I like that.
Good one.
Mm-hmm, really good one. Jason, tell us a little bit about your background. So you grew up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It sounds like your fiance is in LA. Did you spend time out there, or did you go straight from New York to Atlanta? Tell us how you got here and what's your kind of arc, your professional arc.
Got you. So I graduated from Montclair High School. This is Montclair, New Jersey. I had a very ambitious mother, born in Brooklyn. Parents unfortunately got a divorce when I was young. My dad, he stayed in Brooklyn though, so he, the place that I was born, Eastern Parkway, between Washington and Underhill, for anyone who knows. Okay. It's right across the street from the Brooklyn Museum, Brooklyn Botanical Park, the Brooklyn Library. So,
amazing.
Literally as a kid, this is where I would play at. I would play hide and go seek with my friends in these places.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that was just, cool. But at the same time, my mother, her side of the family is from Augusta, Georgia. So I spent time, summers and stuff like that, going to Augusta. So I've always kind of had a good balance, for the most part. Fast forward, in high school, I started interning at Arista Records, which is, big record label. Clive Davis was running the label at the time. Yeah, and they distributed brands like LaFace Records out of Atlanta, Bad Boy, and I had already, because my father was like into music and collected vinyl and things of that nature. So I was always, just grew up into music and got an internship. Like, let me see if this is something that I think that I can actually do for a profession.
Cool.
So got out of high school, went to college for a year in Hampton, Virginia, Hampton University. And it was like my heart, I was there physically, but my heart wasn't there. I already knew what I wanted to do. So I literally stopped going to school, dropped out of school, and gave myself like a window for real. And I said, hey, I'm going to go after my dreams on music for the next X amount of time. And if it doesn't work by this age, I'm going to go back to school, and just finish school,
Okay.
And came to Atlanta, came to a studio called Patchwork Recording Studios, which has been in business for, I believe, like about 25 years now. This is like one of the original premier hip hop studios in Atlanta. And started working there and discovered a young artist, T.I., and put together a demo tape and got into business, at a very young age,
Amazing.
And built a company. Built a company, Grand Hustle Records, Travis Scott, Iggy Azalea, B.O.B, Killer Mike, worked with a lot of great artists, and that's also just diversifying, going to content, producing films and television shows, and also went into the clothing space as well. And I mean, I'm just all over the place at this point, honestly.
That's great.
There's a lot of other things, but for me, I just always say I just want to do things that I enjoy doing, do things that are really kind of like lifestyle. So, it doesn't feel like work because I work a lot, I work a lot, but it all gives me joy and pleasure. So I don't feel the pain at all.
Well, it sounds like a lot of curiosity.
Absolutely. There's definitely a lot of, I want to do it again. Okay. Like you said, let me come over here and try to build something else, that part is like it's like an adrenaline rush to me, honestly, to, have an idea, put the idea on paper, just throw it on paper and actually see it through the build, so that's another reason why, Serenbe, like just the story, just the story is incredible to me because I like to build culture. I like to build community, I like to build brands, obviously. And, it's not an easy thing to do, so, anytime you've done it before, you respect anybody else's efforts at doing it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and tell us, because I know that I think the first time I met you, I ran into you on the street with Garney, and you were here, if we can talk about that, right?
Yep.
You had created is it a company, a label called Heavy Sound Labs? And you tell me, because I'm not totally know, but, and you had done a retreat. So tell us a little bit about Heavy, how that came to be, what that vision is, and then what you did at Serenbe, because I was so compelled by that concept.
Oh, thank you. So Heavy Sound Labs, this was a thought that I had, creating a online record label in a sense, whereas I felt like, and this is the funny part, is this was even pre-pandemic, so my thinking that, everyone's in the music space, everything is digital now, distribution, services, so I said, hey, let me, like, in this day and age, discover artists online predominantly. I won't say only, but predominantly, and started doing this, and I was going to initially launch this at South by Southwest in, I guess, March of
last year.
Yeah, March of last year. Yeah. And of course, pandemic hit, so didn't happen that way, but I still launched the company, and I partnered with 5 artists, throughout the pandemic so far, and I hadn't met these artists at all in person. And for me, spending this time at Serenbe, like it's once again, it's just nature, it's energy, it's just conducive for like creativity for me, and the feelings that I felt, I kept saying like, man, like, so I want other people to feel this, if I feel like, wow, like, like I feel this energy of creating, and I was kind of also cabin fever, not traveling, not going anywhere, right? So also getting a little bored, So I said, hey, it would be really cool to do a retreat here, bring down these artists that I haven't gotten a chance to meet in person yet. Of course, to do it in a safe way. Everyone get the COVID test, before, and then when everyone got here, we also did COVID testing on the spot as well, and that's something I was very happy for during this time, that we spent the week together, and not one case of COVID happened.
No, that is
that was really good.
That's a testament.
Everyone made it home, and people traveled from Boston, from Miami, from Louisiana, New Orleans, and from New Jersey, down to spend a week together. And we just spent the week just kind of getting to know each other. And I set up 2 studios in Hawthorne and
I love that.
And
these are our conference rooms at the end. He's talking about. That's awesome.
So we recorded music, and it's so funny because literally it was such 2 vibes. Like when you listen to the music that was recorded in Magnolia, it's like laid back, and it's seriously, it's like laid back, and it's just kind of very soulful. And then the music in Hawthorne is like more partyish.
No way. That's so interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
That's so fascinating. And how did you pull the artists in? Did you do a call out, or had they already approached you? Like, how did you curate that group of people?
So what I did is I created a website. And I pretty much set up a template questionnaire, so if you was an artist, you can fill out a questionnaire, and I, had a round 1, which asked you basic questions, your social media, your numbers, things like that, so we can check on you. And most people didn't make it past round 1. And then if you made it to round 2, the questions got a little more deeper, psychological kind of questions. And if you made it past that round, we got on the line and we did a Zoom kind of call and chatted with each other, and then we onboarded them, so we actually saw about 1,200 artists to get to the 5 artists.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
Not at all.
Wow.
Yeah. So we saw about 1,200 plus artists, to get to 5 artists,
That's
so
amazing.
Are you going to repeat it?
Yeah, I definitely want to repeat it. I learned a lot. I learned, about how to do it better, and I'm excited about repeating it for real, because I think that now we're prepared to do it in a better, smarter way.
Did each of those artists walk away with a contract, or how does that work? Or was it more of just bringing people together for community?
Well, I signed these guys before they came. So that was the catch,
okay.
Right?
Okay, cool. I was like, I don't know, how does it work?
I only brought down the guys that had contracts.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So during the time here, we documented it. We had a camera crew, we documented it ourselves, and we recorded this music, and we're going to release it all.
I saw the mini trailer, the little sort of mini docu. Yeah. Can you talk about that at all, or?
Yeah, sure. We're still actually kind of reworking it, honestly.
Okay.
So I literally just wanted to do it over a little different because we have some interest from one of the talent agencies. We're trying to shop it to, Netflix and Amazon Prime, to those guys, because I want to go big before I just, go YouTube.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, it sounds like a fun story, story arc. Each of those individual artists, I bet, have wonderful stories to tell too.
Yeah, they had a great experience. Those guys, they were so excited. It was great. So a couple of them had never even gotten on an airplane before.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Really cool.
And so now they're part of your label. And so that obviously you're probably signing people left and right in other places, but like, are you then, are people finding you through that experience? Has like word traveled through that, just sort of as as you're building the community and the brand? I would assume that sort of sends ripples out.
Sure. That sends ripples out. And I actually, it's funny because it's not redone yet, but literally next week we're relaunching the website. So I'm actually doing away with that phase of anyone can apply, because clearly the numbers just aren't.
How do you? Yeah,
the numbers
and you've got to hire a crew of
exactly to weed through all of the the clutter in a sense. So it was a good experience to do it, especially during the pandemic. When we had a lot of time, just downtime, sitting around at home. But it's not sustainable for real. So what I am doing is I am going to continue, doing retreats and things like that, because I've always done those retreats, recording and going to different studios and going to different, going to Hawaii and London, different places to record. I've just never done it in this way, right? In Serenbe in the woods, and
right.
But the energy, to me, I believe that isolation breeds innovation. So you're trying to create, if you can just go away and and leave all of your real life realities outside and just focus on what's at the task at hand. Really dig in deep.
No, I love it. Definitely. I have fantasies of a podcast studio that could be a shared resource here. So maybe we need it to be a whole sound studio, where people can come and collaborate and stuff. I just think there's such an opportunity to, you're right, like get people in a little bit of a different of a headspace by being in nature, and then that collaboration of just sort of different minds always brings out something really beautiful on the back end.
That's how great things are created. Hey, there's a book on that whole concept called Deep Work.
Deep Work.
So, I don't know the author's name offhand, but it's a book that I read called Deep Work, and they just talk about the times when Edgar Allan Poe and people just kind of go away and lock themselves in a cabin, right? To create a body of work that's going to last for hundreds of years. So you spend 3 months just going in really deep, in this idea, but it lasts for like lifetimes.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely love that. What's sort of next for Heavy Labs? Like, so you're going to redo the website, you're rethinking how sort of this, I don't know if you call it an application process, or sort of the curation is going to be a little different. Yep. What are your goals for 2020?
It's working with artists is always a process. It's kind of for me personally, I don't really like to rush the process too much, because you can't really cheat the process, it's kind of like, you can't really rush it. So for these artists, we're putting out projects, we're putting out music. For Heavy Sound, we're creating more platforms, for artists and for creatives in general. I'm a partner in All Deaf Digital. All Deaf Digital is actually the largest African-American owned content publisher on YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, wow.
So pretty massive, audience, about 20 million subscribers, collectively, So on All Deaf, we have different shows, and the business over there is,
nice.
Ads and sponsored campaigns, So for Heavy Sound, we're going to produce a lot of shows that we can plug into that system as well,
Yeah, that makes sense. We could have your own network.
I mean, that's really the goal.
Right? Why not?
Yep.
My kids are always telling me about, like, I know one of them just signed up for, I don't even know, Nebula and something that's like some sort of YouTuber streaming TV something. I have no idea.
I would check that out. I've never heard of that. Nebula?
I'll have to ask him, but it's like Nebula or something. And it's all, or Curiosity Stream. Maybe it's a combo, and it's all sort of YouTubers are doing sort of like little mini documentaries, the YouTube stars, because they wanted to leave the YouTube platform for all the reasons that we know. And sort of are creating this. So he was very excited. With his own money, bought a $15 subscription for the year.
15 for the year. It's a good number.
With a coupon code.
Okay. So you tell the coupon code. That's good. Yeah. It's amazing though. Just in that space, like so much is happening right now. So, to your point, trust me, I'm all in there, figure it out, because now it's definitely all about, niche platforms for real.
Yep.
OTTs, in that way,
Definitely.
We're like entering the next phase of like social media and YouTube and everything. Whereas, people will pay for a isolated, like premium conversation,
Definitely. Are you on Clubhouse?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I just got you on yesterday, didn't I? Have you been on it yet, Steve?
I don't have time. I mean, I see all these chats going on. They go, I'm in a meeting. I'm on a Zoom call.
Yeah. It's
okay. Well, maybe we'll have to create a room together, the three of us. We'll see.
That'd be good.
We can talk about creativity and deep work.
Look, I have a house on Clubhouse called Heavy House. Yeah, it's called Heavy House. Check it out.
Oh, well, I'm going to join it. Well, if I can join it, if you'll accept me into your house.
Come through, please.
Awesome. Yeah. We've been, I told Steve he needed to get on because there's a lot of hustle on there.
Of course.
But I think that's anywhere. But there's a lot of incredible content. And I've been fascinated with all of the green, sustainable, like Steve, I tagged Steve on a Project Drawdown talk that's tonight. I just think there's a lot of opportunity, especially it's sort of a closed space right now, to really have some deep conversations around common purpose.
Listen, I agree 1,000,000%. I've been on for quite a while. I've been on since the summertime.
Your early days. So I
was a little early.
You were an influencer.
I've seen it kind of, but now to the point of now, like you said, I'll say to anyone, it's so much on there now. Don't get turned off by, the things that you don't like, because there's definitely some great conversations that still take place on there, and it's also such a great way to network for real. Like we can have a conversation and someone from South Korea is on and someone from LA is on, and and all of these people are in the same room, which is very cool. Yeah.
It is very powerful, and I can't quite explain how, except you just sort of got to dig in and spend some time there and find the right conversations to listen to. I felt like the first couple of weeks I spent was just like a masterclass, of knowledge.
Yep.
So
that's to me what it's kind of like when you catch a good room. It's like an interactive podcast, right?
Yeah.
How to build this, but like we're engaging with it, right?
You can try and raise your hand and get in on the conversation. I love it. That's cool. Do you see, like with Heavy, like having that label that is predominantly an online label, like really changing the marketplace? Like, do you feel like you were one of the first, as somebody who doesn't know the music industry that well, like, is that the future?
I think it is the future. Nowadays it's the present and the future, right? You've had DistroKid, TuneCore, those are big distribution companies, Okay. So they really changed the game. Once distribution went digital, that just changed the game for real.
Right.
So at that point, any kid could go from, hey, I just made a song in my room, to, hey, let me upload this right now and pay whatever this price is, and they're going to distribute my record. Maybe I paid them up front, maybe I paid them on the back end. But now I scheduled it out, and 2 weeks from now, my record's on Spotify and it's on Apple Music. It's just that simple, right?
Wild. Yeah.
It's just that simple, So now that's the do-it-yourself segment of the music business, which is now outpacing in growth any other segment of the music business, which would be the majors or, the independent level,
Right.
But technology has made everything so accessible, that the market is truly flooded, because everyone's doing it. So it's so easy, it's so obtainable. So it's truly, really flooded. But that really creates more value for artist developers, you know, for companies that develop artists, you know. So for me, that's something that I've always done. Of every artist that I've had success with, Travis Scott, I signed him. He only had 500 views on YouTube.
Oh my God.
So some of these artists that I've signed have all been from infancy for real, you know, and I developed them, and then I gained some traction and obviously some value. And then I took them to the major record label and partnered, you know, in like 50-50 ventures and things of that nature with the record label. So, you know, now being that there's so many artists out here, you know, the value for artist developers just kind of truly increases because major labels, they possibly don't have the time and the capacity to be in a development business anymore. You know, so that's really what I saw as like, hey, the opportunity's here. You know, I'm not necessarily looking to, you know, grow artists for 10 years, so to say, but I'm looking more so with Heavy Sound Labs to create this as a new age incubator in a sense, you know, whereas I find an artist early, I develop them, show some traction, partner with the major label, and then I can kind of go on and do its own thing a little bit, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of joy in that discovery, and giving people those opportunities and really nurturing them is kind of really, really fabulous.
And for me, that's the reality. I really looked and said, what part of the business do I really enjoy the most? You know, honestly, I really don't like going to award shows, and, you know, that's really not my thing, you know, like I don't, you know, like that part so much, you know, like you said, I really like kind of creating and helping the artists figure some things out with their sound, their image, their look, their marketing, you know, and so that, you know, in the beginning, artists come about and they're fans of other artists, you know, so they may have remnants of like 4 different people, you know, and these are their favorite artists that they're all influenced by, and they got to really kind of figure out how to shape those thoughts and, you know, have your own voice for real, you know, so that's the part that I really I like the most.
I love that. It's a two-way relationship versus going to an award show is a one-way. Sure. You know, there's no, I mean, you know, maybe you get back whatever, you get back something, but it's not a in the moment, you know, give and take and joy.
As they say, it gets Hollywood.
Hollywood's a lot of fun. We love shiny things, but you know, I don't know how much that doesn't probably fill you long term, I would guess. No offense to Hollywood. No offense. But so tell us, what is one of the kind of like the last things I like to ask people is, you know, what's sort of your special place at Serenbe, or sort of, I don't want to say secret place because we don't want anybody, but like, what's your undiscovered Serenbe that you want to share with people that you're like, maybe people don't know? It doesn't have to be a place. It could just be a thought or a feeling or a meal even. Like, what's your kind of, if you're coming down, this is what you should do.
If you're coming down, this is what you should do. I'll say this. I'll say if you're coming down to Serenbe, you should do 3 things. Okay. You should start, you should go and see Matt at the Daisy and get the turkey Rachel. Nice. You know, and you can order that, and while they're making it, you can shoot over the bamboo and get a nice vanilla mint, or maybe they have the strawberry one if it's the right season.
If it's the right season.
It's the right season, right? You know, and then you can shoot back over to the Daisy and pick up your sandwich, and then you can walk, and you can walk the trail through the parking lot to Steve. I asked you about, you had a name for this area before, and I forget what you called it. I said it's like the living room, the green box.
That's right. We call it a function room. Out in the
function room. Yeah, and you could take a walk to the function room and lay on the grass and eat your lunch. You know, and then from there you walk on and walk the trail and get you some exercise, some fresh air.
Perfect. Is there anything else you want to share with us we didn't touch on, or?
No, I think it was a good conversation. Yeah. Good on my side.
Well, thank you, Jason. This has been delightful. I look forward to like running into you on the street and walking the trails with you and learning more about your life.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you, Steve, as well.
Hope to see you soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. We'll see you down here. You got to get down this weekend if you can.
Yeah, we'll be down here soon for sure in a few days. Probably this weekend, actually.
Perfect.
Yep.
The sun's out.
Sun's out. We're coming.
The sun's out, and the Saturday market starts this Saturday.
Well, we're definitely coming. We're gonna get down there because I want to catch that. I need some honey. Good honey. Yep. Okay.
Well, thanks so much, Jason.
Okay, thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Serenbe Stories. New episodes are available on Mondays. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And visit our website to learn more about guests, episodes, and everything Serenbe at serendipitous.com. This episode is supported by the Inn at Serenbe. Nestled in the rolling countryside of the bucolic community of Serenbe, where guests can walk on the 15 miles of private trails through preserved forest land, the wildflower meadow, and the animal village. Relax at the pool, hot tub, or in rocking chairs on a wraparound porch. Play on the croquet lawn, grab a canoe, or jump on the in-ground trampoline. Connect with nature and each other, all while staying in a luxurious space at the Inn at Serenbe. Book your stay today at serenbeinn.com, SERENBEINN.com.